And so thank you everybody for coming. I just wanted to introduce Rose to a bigger audience now. I met Rose, gosh, I guess I haven't met Rose for in person ever. We've talked this year, but Rose has been kind of in the background of my story for several years. She found me from an article that I wrote way back, one of the first things I put on my blog about Reviving the Kingdom, a sort of fairy tale where I go through the archetypal journey of what makes an evil queen, or that archetype, and just all the mythologies and fairy tale stuff around that. And Rose has kind of been around, kind of reading my stuff and poking here and there. And she has had an interesting journey, to say the least. She's been kind of all over the United States. I think I remember seeing some stuff you were involved with. Were you out there when they were doing the key line, the pipeline?
I stood at Standing Rock in 2016. I was there for a week. During the night of the many fires, when they set the bridge on fire, I was there.
So I
And
knew.
then I also stood on Mauna Kea in 2019, protecting from the telescope.
So
And then I've also journeyed through New Zealand. So those are kind of my territories.
I've always thought of you as the water woman in a lot of ways. And then when you reached back out this last year at the end of 2022, you're like, hey, you should come stay out on Tiasera Island. And I'm probably saying it wrong. And I was like, I don't even know where that is. So I had to Google it. And it's this itsy bitsy little island in the middle of the Atlantic, surrounded by water. And its closest point is like 1,000 miles off the coast of Portugal. And so you've landed out there after a lot of journeys, as what you call it, I think, being like an angel on the road. And that is just, it's really fascinating to me. And a lot of you know Stephanie, the people that are local to my group and all, and you guys are familiar with some of the serendipitous kind of miraculous moments and weird stuff that she's had in her story. And there was just something about Rose that was like, she's had a lot of those same experiences. When you have somebody that kind of goes where spirit says to do and kind of walks by faith, and have you had a near-death experience, Rose? Is that
many?
I felt like that was a similar part of the story. And I remember one thing that stuck with me. You said, at one point, like, spirit either use me or take me out. And just having that full willingness to like be in that spot that no one else can be, to do the thing that no one else can do. And when you think about God needing people with boots on the ground, it's like you need somebody that's willing to do the work without saying, nah, I don't want to do that, or that doesn't make any sense. And I know, I mean, I'm guilty of it sometimes too, where my ego will get in the way, and it's like, I got something else I need to do. So in those cases, God usually has to say, well, can't work with him, got to find some other channel for it to go through. And so you've had a lot of experiences that have made you a pivotal person for a lot of people, with your learning and understanding and the things that you've encountered along the way. So I just thought that I'd give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself and share what you've got on about your story. And I'll chime in with things when I think of something or it comes up. And if anybody's got a question, feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself. I don't feel like there's so many people here that you can't just holler if you got something to say. And welcome, Kristen. I saw you came in, so you're with us now too. And so I'll give you the floor a little bit, Rose, to kind of introduce yourself from that.
Well, so I'm 55 by human years in the body. I was initially born in Louisiana, down in the swamps in the bayou. Water has been a huge part of my life from the very beginning. I grew up in the swamps going 50 miles offshore, and I watched that destruction of where I come from. The parish that I come from is called Terrebonne, which means good earth, but it's the largest parish in the state of Louisiana, but it's also 85% water. Probably more now because it's sinking. And so water, the state of the water and waters were a huge part, but I went away from that. And part of my story is that I grew up very fundamental Baptist, down in Catholic country, of course. So there was, I've always experienced this dichotomy. And then another part is that I'm Cajun. I'm from Basque heritage, grew up way down the bayou. I didn't know I was white until I left Louisiana. And I left Louisiana at 16. I got pregnant when I was 15. So I have 4 children. Well, I had 4 children. This last year, I've lost my youngest. And I'm working with that in a way that it's an initiation also.
I gotta tell you on that note, that's I don't know if I've been trying to get you and Stephanie's past crossing. That is an uncanny similarity. She just lost her youngest son, I want to say either last year or the one right before. So that is very peculiar.
It's definitely, an initiation at a whole other level. And so because of that Christian background, and then I had been a nurse for 23 years, I was always drawn to healing and helping. My dad says he always knew I was going to be a doctor. He just didn't know it was going to be a witch doctor. And in I had rocked on it in my normie life. I had been married and divorced 7 times. Like this was a huge thing of love, right? Love and water. That seems to be like my thing. And so I came to the end of all that. And in 2010, I committed suicide. That's when I said the very fierce prayer. I was 268 pounds in bed in adult depends, dying. My life was, like tax returns said I was making more money than I'd ever made, married, to somebody that was making great money in the oil field, all of this. And I took all the heart medications I had. And I was a nurse, like I knew how to mix these. I really, really should not be here at all. And the body does have problems because of the things that were done to it, but I said that prayer. I said, God, give me a purpose or take me out. And I was cussing at God. And said I was willing to go anywhere and do anything to not be who and what I was anymore. Okay. And so along that journey, as like all of this happened, I can remember that, right? That I promise, whether I'm sleeping by a dumpster on the side of the road, or if I am in a mansion, I am willing to go anywhere and do anything to not be who and what I was anymore. And that propelled 2010, I didn't die. 11 to 12 was kind of an in-between phase. I went back to Western medicine, did everything that they told me to do, and that led to a kidney stone and another death experience in 2012. And at that point, I started hearing go. It was just go, 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 go. And I was trying to hold on and find a middle ground. And I went into like essential oils, and, I went from a size 16 to a size 18 after meeting this sensei that I worked with. And his first thing that he told me to do was brush my teeth with the opposite hand and stop looking in the mirror. And he had me make a joy list. And at the time I was like, what the fuck is joy? Right? Like, I still have a hard time with that. Still, even here, I have a hard time with joy. And so I didn't even know what I wanted. There was pretty much no me there. As far as I was a nurse, I had been a mother, I had, You know, I mean, probably a lot of women can relate. You've lived your life for everybody else and you don't even know what you want to eat for dinner. Like, I can remember one time I was on this hugging a tree crying because somebody was trying to get me to decide what I wanted for dinner. Like, I don't know, right? So I'm hearing go and like all of the fears come up, right? Like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And spirit showed me on the TV, there was this man that was sleeping in his bed and the ground opened up underneath him and ate him, and they still haven't found his body. And spirit says, that voice that's saying go says, I can get you anywhere. And so I mean, life happened the way it happened. With I had danced with ayahuasca within a couple of months of my death experience in 2012, and my whole world dissolved of where I was standing. The husband filed for divorce, canceled the credit cards, locked me out of the house. Kids locked me out of the other house. And I drove away from the divorce table saying, if I'm going to be homeless, I'm going to have better scenery than Houston, fucking Texas. And when I took who I thought was a brother with me to Hot Springs, Arkansas, the only thing I could figure out I wanted to do was dig for diamonds. And that was in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Arkansas. And that is a weird freaking place. Your compass doesn't even work in Murfreesboro. And I had an experience where I'm driving to the east of Hot Springs, Arkansas, heading to Hot Springs, Arkansas. And I pulled over. I was following double-digit mile markers. Okay. And this is a trick. If you drive double digit and you only pay attention to double digits, you can jump time. Try it. There's one of your games you can play with the universe. Double digits, right? Just following the double digits. And so I pulled over at mile marker 44 on the Hope Highway. It was called the Hope Highway. And I saw a black man with bright blue eyes. And I asked him, how did you get those? And he said, I created them. Remember that. The next thing I know, we're driving along and I see water, and I love water, right? So I make him pull over. I've never been able to find that patch of water since. Okay, by the way, I've driven that highway again. Can't find where I was. But I pulled over and there was an altar on like a tree stump. I make them now, right? Like I didn't at the time. And it was on the tree stump. And I remember I moved things around. I stripped off my clothes, got in the water, was playing and stuff until other people started showing up. And then we left. And when we left, now we were at least 45 minutes from the turnoff that you would have to go east to get to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Okay. When we got into Hot Springs, Arkansas, we came in from the west. We're there in about 15 minutes and 4 days were gone.
What do you mean? You the time had changed, or the day was different? Okay.
4 days. Now, time has done this around to me a lot. That's why it's so challenging. You notice, like yesterday, I thought yesterday was today, and then the time, like time is a wild thing, which as a Scorpio, right? We're kind of time masters, and time is one of the things for a Scorpio.
I think of time. I think about time with Saturn, and I've talked about time and gravity, but I know the more that we get into this new age, the idea of getting away from like linear time towards quantum time. And I've heard Stephanie, if we've got another friend, Lisa Michelle, then have different little games. Like Lisa Michelle says, if I just need to be somewhere at a certain time, I just set that intention and I don't look at a clock and I always get there. And so
Mm.
these different little things that are kind of working with a nature of time that's not linear as much. So we're a
Yeah,
lot of us here on the
you can ask to work with the timekeepers and the timekeepers to set the time. If somebody is super focused on time, I cannot hang out with them. Like I really, Sep wears a watch, and this is the first person I've really been able to be around. Like we're working on 5 months here. And we get to 5 months and nobody has been around me that long and gotten along with me. Like we have set a record, right? We're getting there. But like Lisa, you traveled with me when we went to St. Augustine, and you were so focused on
Time.
time,
Yes, I'm a
and it
timeaholic.
created such an issue, didn't it?
Yeah, but you were pretty good about it. I mean, I was the one that was, well, the main thing was I wanted to get back with my dog, right? That was the
Right,
time.
but
Yeah.
so had you had a bit more belief in magic, we could have played outside of time.
Mhm.
And if you think about all the things that we did to a certain amount of time. That's
Yeah.
that you step outside of time and you play outside of time. Like,
We,
and
everything
if
was
it's
good though.
more than one of you, you have to agree that that's going to occur.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
I know.
I
I get
swear I've lived about 5 lives sometimes in one supposed 24-hour period.
I've personally noticed the phenomenon
Mhm.
too. I've had different altered states. And I can think of an experience specifically when we were at Love Burn. I don't know if anybody on the call's been to like a burn event, like a mini Burning Man, but there's so many events going on at all these different times, all over the place, and they have a calendar and a schedule, but it's kind of like, eh, and everybody just kind of wanders around and you get where you get. And I had an experience where we were in line to wait on getting a shirt made. They were making some iron-ons on the shirt, and Lisa Michelle's like, "I'll be the anchor. I'll stand in line. You guys go and do your thing." And we went and we got showers and did this and that, and we came right back around, not looking at clocks, not knowing anything. Right when they were up to the front of the time or the front of the line on time.
Yeah.
And there were just there was always these little synchronistic things where you were right where you needed to be when you needed to be, and you didn't even know that that's what you needed. So I have seen that happen when you suspend something about it, but our whole, I don't know, our whole consensus is built around the square block of like the structure of time. And I'm definitely guilty of it too, and I've got 90-minute classes and everything. It's hard to break from what society has said. This is how you have to structure your time,
It is
unless kind of like
extremely, it's
what you've
extremely
done.
challenging.
You
It's extreme.
literally walked away from the whole time world in a sense. Like you said,
I did. And then having gone to New Zealand, that's the future, then go to Hawaii, the past. And like I've done that twice, right? And there was a day I totally did twice. Like time takes on a different meaning when you move like that, right? Like, and
the flow.
during the journey, it was any sense of, I wasn't Malia. Malia killed herself, for Christ's sake. She didn't have much, like, I mean, the inner child wounding was there in the body. The memories are there in the body, the interfacing of it, but it was Rose, who is the angel on the highway. That's what the man called it. So like, so that we'll continue this journey. So the 4 days we're missing, right? And I'm in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and this demon that I see, I banish it, but it runs off with my truck and left me there with $4 to my name.
Mm.
I thought he was a brother, and he had been trained a whole lot more. He worked with Apache medicine men, and he knew a lot more than me. knowledge wise, training wise, but intuitive wise. You know, and my credit card, $3,000 in the bank, but it was gone. And I was in Hot Springs, Arkansas with $4 to my name and barefoot.
Hmm.
And that's kind of when the journey started. For reals, you know.
That sounds like what
Um,
that's what it takes in a sense to get the access that kind of journey. I guess I'm so wrapped up in the 9 to 5 of what I got to do. I've been too chicken shit to do that kind of a big jump. But when I find people like you that just jumped off the edge into the universe, there is something beautiful about it. And I always say, if this doesn't work out, or if I'm not supposed to do this anymore, the idea of going and being a monk or being a nun or just kind of jumping into things, I have an innate faith that the universe will catch you. We're also scared that, oh my God, if I let go of this and that security, I'm going to be lost. There's something else to it. There's something sparkling behind the universe that is loving, that it takes a strong faith. And sometimes you have got to be completely broken down. You've got to completely die to everything else. And that extent of death is quite a scary thing. I mean,
it
you said
is. I mean,
yoga.
I have cried. I say, and I followed the Trail of Tears a lot, tapping into the emotions and what had happened with when I was wandering. I wound up along that trail a lot, but I was leaving my own trail of tears across the country. I cried all the way from Nebraska to Tennessee to Nashville. I can tell you that much. Like, it was terrifying and exhilarating at the exact same time. Many times I say it was intense many times. I that was in Hawaii. I wound up in Hawaii. So Malia is a Hawaiian name. I was given at birth. Malia Lord. Get that. So every time everybody says the Lord, you're welcome. Like, but I always wanted to go to Hawaii. I wanted, it was this thing I wanted to go, and I never could save enough money or get the time off or whatever. I even had a boyfriend at one time that went to Hawaii and I couldn't go because I couldn't get time off.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
And then here I'm homeless. I transferred that to Home Free. Wookie Foot has a song called Home Free. Instead of being homeless, but technically that's what I was. I mean, I only became where I have a home here now with Seth within the last couple of months.
And for all my people that follow the tidbits of astrology, I know that idea of homelessness, of wandering, nursing, also all the channeling, psychic, spirit stuff. Anybody know what sign that files under? What energy imprint we're talking about? Freddie whispered it over here. He's heard me enough. That's all Pisces. All those miracle moments where you let go and you surrender, that Jesus Christ miracle magic, that's that Pisces water energy, and it's all singing together. I mean, you can't know that language and not hear it all. And so there's the idea of the wanderers and the lost, and then the angels. The angels and the lost are in the same ocean. You're swimming in the same ocean, and you can't have, it's not a judgment thing that it's better or worse. It's just, it's that infinite abyss.
It is. And the waters again, right? We talk about the waters. One of the things right before the journey began there in 2011 was the BP oil spill. And that shook my world. And that's when I began the water, right? The water.
Didn't you say you used to be married to a guy that was rich in the oil industry?
He was that, I mean, during that time I was married to a man that was He was a GSI system analyst or something in the oil for an Italian oil company.
That's so
And
fun.
my
That's so ironic.
family's about oil. Like it's about Jesus, oil, and money. That is like, that's my
I'm
family.
trying to turn my thing on, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
James, yeah. So it the waters were a big part of it. And you know, like water, I went into the water, 4 days are gone. I was going for the hot water. Like this is, I've sought out the waters. And when I go picking up trash, blessing the waters, and making these love bombs. The love bombs didn't really come along until 2015. Yeah, it was 2015. And that's when I officially started like as a water carrier, understanding, kind of started through Chief Golden Eagle's work, with water wheels and stuff, but that man wouldn't see me without me having money. Okay. Being a renunciate kind of weeds out the wheat from the chaff, and the meant for you and the not meant for you, because if they don't gift it, you don't get it. And there were a lot of people that would not see or having anything to do with me, despite what I was doing for the waters.
That's interesting. It does, it's very telling.
It's extremely telling. It was, you know, I would show up to festivals, to work festivals, and if they wouldn't let me in without paying,
They
Yeah.
were turning down some service.
and I mean, I've had them do that. I also did a season where I did work the festivals. I went in and volunteered, and that was the thing. You're just doing whatever is in front of you to do. Is how may it be of maximum service to you today, Mama? And it's, for me, it's the mother of mysteries, the ineffable, so to speak. I couldn't understand it, and if I could, it wouldn't be big enough, is kind of how I
Yes.
go at it. So
That's all part of it. All that spiritual work, the extent and the height of the spiritual work is all wrapped up in the charity, the surrender, the volunteerism. I mean, it is all speaking that JC language, you know.
it really is. And I mean, that was the thing. So I put, when I was in the hotel room with the $4 to my name and barefoot, and I'm sitting there, and I mean, I grew up Christian, and finally I called my dad. It was like the last person. Everybody was telling me what a piece of shit I was, how crazy I was. A friend of 23 years broke up with me, and she has still continued to turn my children against me years later. And my dad said, it sounds like it's time for you to sit down, shut up, and listen. And he hung up the phone. And I mean, you know, I'm born into that game, and I was baptized at 6 years old into that game. And if that's the game, you got to beat it at its own game, by its own rules. You can't expect to shortcut your way out of the shit, right? You got to beat it at its own game. And the game of it is to be Jesus. I have this thing, I call it fundamentalism. You're taking the damn out of fundamentals. But you're taking shit and adding fun and shifting that shit. And I say, geez, it's us. Like, who are you going to be in the story? Right. And this story has become so, it's more real than people can imagine, really, is what I've found to be true. Jesus said, if you want to be perfect, you know, the part of the book, if you're paying attention to the red part, right, what he actually said, and not trying to find justification out of it, instead of actually just like taking it literally and let's doing it, right? So he says, if you want to be perfect. Now, I was born and raised a perfectionist and a half. It's just a part of me. And so it says, if you want to be perfect, you sell your shit and give to the poor. I didn't have anything left. It had done been stolen. right? Like, I mean, it was gone anyway. But I said, okay, if I get it back, I will do that, right?
Mhm.
And then it said, when I closed it up and opened again, it talked about washing feet. And there again, we've got water, right? Water and the service of washing feet. And what I have found is, and carrying water is a bit hard. We don't have in our culture that you have the buckets of water at the door to be able to do this the way that they used to do it. So I had essential oils and creams and I rubbed feet. This is, I mean, our elders' feet, if you look at your elders' feet, so many of them have feet that hurt them so bad.
Mhm.
And if you sit down and you rub their feet, all of a sudden you're getting all kinds of wisdom opened up and they're pouring out their blessings on you. And you get teachings that way without having to pay for a seminar or go off on a retreat. You can stay in their home, clean it, and rub their feet, and they will tell you pretty much everything.
That is so interesting. The whole, because I'm familiar, my dad was a preacher, so I'm familiar with that same game, as you said, and I kind of think it's that same gang also. But I can identify that. I know the stuff about Jesus cleaning people's feet, and anybody that's heard some Jesus stories is probably familiar with that. And it makes me I mean, I've had a the only thing I can think of is my own mom. She's got feet that hurt her, and I have done a couple. I've had a couple times where her feet and cleaning her feet and massaging her feet has been important. And I joke all the time with the water. We've got the 5-gallon jugs, and I have to go about every week to fetch water. And that Stephanie went to the spring and filled up things. But that whole idea, there's something I just intrinsically can feel the magic when you talk about cleaning people's feet, that service, and the idea of carrying water. It's got a literal version and it's got something that's metaphoric, like so many things in life.
Well, that's, your other article that I love so much is your one about the secret agent and looking at it as a water cycle. So your
I'm gonna have to
two
go read my own
articles,
stuff.
yes, that's another one that I share around, connected in with my things that I've put together about water. Even going back, the Chinese talked about accepting water as your guru and as your sage. And of anything, I mean, this is water to me is the mother. The earth is kind of a little sister to me of the mothers, then the or the waters are the grandmother. That's the ancient mother, right? Namu. If we go way back, Namu. And so water holds memory. So I work with that, right? And if
Oh yeah.
and in Waitaha, just a simple, I love you, thank you, I love you. So every time you touch water, every time you pee, every time you brush your teeth, when you take a drink, like it, and you start contemplating where all the water is, right? Where and how much of you. And I mean, I've gotten really disheartened with people, let me tell you. Like,
The water's the soul for people out there, just the metaphysical angle. The water is the soul. The water does hold the memory. The water is where the karma is. The water is the astral plane. The water is all of this stuff. Not all, I
and
mean, it all
and
jives.
and water and electronics don't go together so well, so if we link in with water and we stay connected with water, it does keep us from getting so lost in the technical realm. And so when I work with water as memory, then you are going, when I go to places, it's to remind the waters of who and what they truly are. A lot of times I was taken to dirty waters to bring clean water. So you carry the higher vibrational water with you and then put it in the lower one, and like mixing these and reminding them who and what they are. And when we carry the vibration of that water, then we can remind the other waters, even if we're in a water area that doesn't have that memory anymore, it's forgotten. And so in that respect, it's kind of like a bee, and that you're going around and pollinating, to keep the memory alive. I remember the Gulf of Mexico when it was beautiful. So like I can go there and despite that other, hold that memory and help remind it, and then grieve. I work with it. Tears are purified water. That is how we work with the earth, to purify things. And it releases toxins that nothing else does, our tears. And that is when we match the seawater. Those are tears, our sweat, our tears are the sea. That's the salt water. And then we have our fresh water, and that's a way to make fresh water out, removing the impurities, is with our tears to assist her. And until so much that I've experienced is like areas have a trauma that has occurred, and people have traumas that have occurred. And if they're not grieved and felt, then they repeat. And so if we can go to these places and we can tap into that emotion and we can feel it and grieve the tears, right? So when I first get there, it's like thank you for being there. You approach slowly. Water has protectors, dragons, water dragons. And we want to be very respectful that we're entering their territory. And dragons have 9 eyes to scan us. So when you come in, you go in and let yourself be scanned. And you can make an offering for them, and then sit and wait for your messages and whether you're allowed to enter the water or not. Some places will tell me no. It's about being respectful and developing a relationship. And you can't just stomp into somebody's living room and demand they have a relationship with you. And if you haven't come around to visit and talk for a while, you can't expect them to take you seriously at first either, which is where the love bombs come in. This is a way to give an offering, honor, and pay attention to your surroundings, what's around. You've got to go around and gather the things to make it with, right? Or bring them. It takes some forethought. And you're coming, and with each one of those things, you're setting an intention or a wish, or doing it for a dedication to something, or, with the spirit world, the way I understand it, it's reciprocal. So if you want something, you give something, right? And there's a big out of balance. So a lot of times I got to give more than I'm taking, because shit's been taken so much before that I got to make up for that before they're even going to listen to my kind. Admitting that the spirits have a right to be wary of us, to not be paying attention to us, and that we need to do something for mama, which is picking up the trash, right? Honoring and admiring the things that she has around and bringing them together in a love bomb and offering something for her, right? We'll begin to get the attention. Teacher's pet, I think.
All of the water stuff too is inherently feminine, and I think that's when I talked about in that first article about how to understand and redeem the evil queen. It is connected to the way that our society has demonized the feminine aspect of things, which is coming back online. There's masculine magic, there's feminine magic. All this water stuff is, so again, the water is our feelings, and you talk about having to feel the water. And when you get in touch with the water, it does help to get, the electric, that's all masculine. The technical, technique, technology, all of that is masculine and it has its place. But if you are working too much in one zone without the balance of the other, you're only getting half the picture. And all of this water stuff it's 70% of us, it's 70% of the world. It's important. And not only have we been taught and led to ignore it, we've also been indoctrinated into poisoning the well, if you will, which is our own wellness. And some things that connect for me, when I talk about water signs, I'm not talking about somebody that is a Cancer, a Scorpio, or a Pisces, but those three triangulating pieces of water with Cancer energy. You have the idea of the mother, the idea of nurturing, which is using water to fill yourself up, to remind yourself with the one, to nurture. Everybody gets a drink, to heal by nourishing, by filling up. With Scorpio energy, we have the idea of purifying the water. And I know a lot of your path has been going, as you said, where there's dirty water. Scorpio energy is the crucible where it's boiling water. You have to boil out the impurities. You have to engage what is dirty and clean it up, to go in deeper. It also is going to hold more of the past lives and the entanglements and the ways that we have poisoned ourselves and others. And then Pisces, you're in the saltwater ocean that has a healing effect of dissolving, of letting go, of melting into that oneness and becoming one with it. And that's like the universal memory. So we have the idea of just, it's different layers of memory, it's different layers of healing, different layers of feeling, but it's all very water, feminine, healing, all of that. So it gets me excited to hear it. And then little things in my head are like, hey.
Well, we've been bouncing off of each other. I feel like I was like walking out your fairy tale article. It was, I mean, from the beginning, I would love to know which fairy tale or which story each person in this group is playing in. I was playing in Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and Cinderella, those two. So go around and ask her, let's find out what storylines.
So for everybody in the room, I guess the way to think about this is, if you're familiar with fairy tales, if you've thought, hey, I'm just like that character in the fairy tale, or there is a certain fairy tale that connects very strongly to you, if you don't mind sharing what fairy tale or fairy tale character you've identified with or seen active in your life. Is there anybody that would like to share?
And if not fairy tale, like a movie character, one of the movies or cartoons, or what storyline?
I can identify, and I see a lot of mythology, even though I'm not a Nordic person per se. I identify with a lot of Greek archetypes and characters. I have noticed a lot of qualities in my life. And my cousin has semi-accused me of being Balder from Norse mythology, the golden sun that, had that Jesus Christ death thing happen. And then there was the giantess that was Loki in disguise, that was kind of a little jealous, which has kind of been my cousin at certain points. I've identified with that. It's funny you're talking about water. I'm such a huge fan of the Snow Queen fairy tale, and I know she's the White Witch and she gets a bad rap, and I love Aslan too, but freezing water and having it composed, I work well with frozen water, and that's is what it is. But those are a couple fairy tale characters and themes that I've noticed for myself.
Well, Veda Austin, if you want to bring, do you know about Veda Austin?
I'm not familiar.
Oh, he's not. Oh, okay. You have to explore Veda Austin.
I'll put that in the link.
Okay. I just wrote it down. I don't know if I spelled it right, but I got it.
Yeah. So which fairy tale for you, Lisa? I know you identify with Freya in the Nordic mythology.
Yeah. Someone told me, and I was really identifying with Atlantis for a while there. And I went to Costco, and this woman comes up to me and she's like, oh my God, she said, you look just like the Queen of Atlantis. And this like show, you know, that I think it was a Hunt for Atlantis or something. And like it was like this you know, she had the white hair, and it was totally identifiable at the time. She was a Disney character. I didn't know anything about it. But it was the lost city of Atlantis, I think. And then I looked at it, and she had the sword and the emerald light and I was like, well, that's me.
If y'all want to put it in the chat too, that's fine. I just saw that Lisa H said Regina, perhaps from Once Upon a Time, or Maleficent.
Hello, can you
Maleficent.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, James.
Oh, all right, man. I don't know how to work this thing. Camera's not working. I've been fooling with it for a minute now. Sorry, I'm eating a little something. But I identify with Pinocchio, you know?
Pinocchio.
Yeah, one day I'll be a real boy. I'll cut puppets sometime.
All right. I'm putting it in the discussion on the page.
Okay.
On the event page. I'll put it in there.
I think,
that way it stays.
Go ahead. Who's coming on?
I was gonna say, I think I identify with Rapunzel sometimes, because I feel like my culture and a lot of certain expectations for my family makes me feel like I'm trapped and I don't know how to quite get out. So
Okay.
Sorting. You gotta sort.
sorting.
Sorting. There's a sister, her name is Rita here, and she popped in. She's very knowledgeable about the Romanian fairy tales. I wish she'd have been able to be in our group. And she was relating my story to sorting in the old ancient fairy tales. And one way to get connected is to go barefoot until your feet bleed. It sucks, but it does work. I've done it 7 times.
I've done it once.
Yeah. You go barefoot to get your connection, but it's about sorting. There was a woman that called it, she was a Sufi woman, and she called it the Neti Neti Om path. Not this, not this, this, not this, not this, this. And as a heroine in the female fairy tales, you had to be tested by Baba Yaga.
I love Baba Yaga. I'm familiar with her.
Right. And Rapunzel kind of mixes in with that, the sorting, the making something from nothing, which is what the love bombs do. You're making love from nothing at all.
Right.
That's a great way to begin that process.
Spinning straw into gold.
Yes. Yes, you're turning, you're working it. And that's where, if you own a property, and I challenge, like, you can do this at school, you're doing it, but take a piece of property, a place where you are, and every day for the same day, work that love bomb in that place. Something goes wrong in your day, you didn't quite get it right, adjust it, turn it a different direction. Work that issue while you're working that love bomb area.
Like the same love bomb you're talking about?
Yes, yes. You
Like
repeatedly work it. Look at what happens to it while you've left it, right? See
Right.
what's come through and what's been added. Go back around the yard. Look again. The fairies may leave you something else.
Right,
I've been
and how it
left
feels
Disney
and-
characters. Disney characters, find it. And then it's
Right.
part of the love bomb, right?
Okay,
The next
right,
day,
right.
chickens come through or worms come through.
Right. Birds
And you're
a bit of
bringing
time.
different energy to it and you're working it. Your
Can I-
consistency counts. Consistency counts. Momentum matters. And so the more you do this, you're building on it. You're building your mojo. You're building your depth. You're building your connection.
My dad almost tripped over the love bomb I put in the yard. Remember that I did? He was taking the trash out and he like tripped on it. I thought it was, you know,
Well,
Rose
it's-
knows all about my personal information, you know.
So
stuff about-
it's very telling, these love bombs. There's something about them. I can tell you some people are so anti-love bomb, it's insane. Okay. I say it seems to be a good way to determine people's hearts. And people that are not aligned and they are not in love will come and actively fuck the shit up.
I like doing them because even if I'm like not really feeling it right then or something, or just out of sorts or anything, you can still, that's still something you can do to just to actually make love, that day. But even that's
Literally.
the only thing I could do that day. I still did that, I made some love that day, That is
Right.
one
And
reason I
that's
like
the
doing it.
thing. We're so caught up, we're experiencing overwhelm. We're supposed to care about all of these things, and there's nothing we can do about them.
Right.
Right? This is something you can do. This is something you can actually do. And in doing it, you become love. You start spreading it around all over the place.
Like Rose, you got my blood bombs that have been spread everywhere, because every time I put one down on a palm tree, I paint seashells for who else doesn't know here, and I paint love on them, I decorate them, put them on tree stumps.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
I'm on mute too.
So I'm, it's like my love bombs are flying all over the place, like literally flying in somebody's suitcase. I'm sure, because I have them, Folly Beach. I'll put FB on the back and when I made it, my name. And there, every time I go by that place, where the palm trees were cut down, I put them on the palm tree stumps, or whatever trees, because we had a lot of palm trees, 550 cut down on Folly Beach a year ago. And so that's when I started doing it, because I was like crying. I'm like, what can I do? I'm like, there's nothing that makes me feel better. What can I do? I can't bring the palm trees back. It seems like I can't hug it. So I'm like, that made me feel so much better doing that. And it still continues. And the people that look at the palm, well, maybe they're just looking at the shell, but hopefully they're looking at the tree stump too, that had been there. And perhaps
But
I
the
should.
tree knows. The tree knows.
They're going everywhere. I mean, people on Folly, they come from all over the world, to visit here and all over the country. So I feel like they're taking mine. As soon as I lay them down, man, they're gone. So I feel like that's something. They're making their way around who knows where. It's really cool. I mean, I would have never thought to do that if it wasn't for Rose to do
Hey,
that.
Rose, can you tell a few of the people I know, my friends probably don't even know maybe what a love bomb is.
Oh,
Okay.
Explain
So
what the concept is.
oh, you need
I wish I could show you somehow.
We're gonna share the group. I think, hey, Freddie's coming in. I think Freddie
Can
just
you-
made one.
can,
But
Rose,
Yeah, so
we're gonna share that
this
group
is a
in
love
here.
bomb. This here is a love bomb. I just kind of painted love all over it. And then I
There.
pick up trash in the
Look at-
ocean here, and
look
I've
at-
been making
Never.
them.
I just pinned Freddie's for a second because he just
Yes.
made one in our kitchen on the
Oh, I
floor.
see. Oh, cool.
Yes.
He's getting ready to install a new sink here, so he made a little love on the way in.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
So what I do is I find objects, whatever they are. I mean, right now, I could take this and this that's right at my table, and there's an L, right? O's are pretty easy to find. There's bottle caps galore at the ocean shore if you can't find anything else. V's, those are pretty simple too, right? Yeah, those you can make out of anything. E's can kind of get a little difficult, but can be simple at the same time. It depends how fancy you want to get. But finding different things. When I'm outside, I do it with the flowers. the flowers really like it, right? And then I get to see the bees go get them down there, and photography is one of my things I'm really finding myself to like, doing the love bomb and then creating a beautiful scene with it. Here I have a lot of rainbows, so I'll make them where the rainbows show up, and then when the rainbow comes, I've got a great picture. Like, it's grown for me as I've done it, but sometimes it's just simple. And it started, when I would get left on the side of the road and I didn't know where I was going, or drama is going on in the house that I'm staying in, and I need to just keep myself centered, and I'm trying to bring love into the thing, then I would sit, and even at the gas station, the little pebbles, and I would spell out love with the little pebbles that were there. And it took my mind to this other place. And I've legit like been riding in a vehicle and the thing breaks down. Everybody's getting bitchy and grumpy and all of this. And then the van stops and we get out and make a love bomb and get back in, and it starts. Sepp says that it changes timelines, and I believe that it can. And you're doing something, making an offering, you're bringing it into form and into matter. A lot of people do a lot of intentions of this and that, but they're not doing anything to bring it into the physical.
I want people to think about it like this for a second. Like, if you are taking, it seems so simple and it's so childlike, how perfect, that you're just taking stuff, and you often will take trash and form the word love. So we're recycling the trash into treasure and then cleaning it up after you've created love with it. But you're literally taking stuff and making love, because you're making the word love. And when you do that, like you said earlier, you have to have the intention, and it's your time and energy. So you are offering. It's an offering of time, intention, and energy to make love. And then once you've got it there, if anybody and everybody that sees it can't see it with them not thinking love from it. So it's creating love, it's spreading love. It's so simple, but at the same time, it is quantumly profound. It's like, I mean, it is in a sense a technology, but it's just so organic and intuitive that, and I shared with you at first because you'd been talking about it for a while and I'd seen you doing it for a while. And there was an initial kind of resistance to doing it for the longest time. Like, it's just silly. Or, I don't, there's almost like, it's so simple and easy. Something in us wants to, it's almost the same way that we get stuck in the structure of time. We've got to be too serious. It's,
Yes.
This isn't not doing anything. It's probably doing way more than I can even think that it's doing. The idea of jumping timelines, expanding timelines. I mean, it ain't hurting anything. I can tell you that much.
No, it's play. And
Yes.
play, if we go by the Bible book, right, the Christian story, then we're supposed to become like little children.
Yes.
It talked about Jesus writing something on the ground at one point. What if he wrote love? What if he was making a love bomb, right?
Jesus
Like,
was the original love bomber.
Yeah, the original love bomber. Maybe
And I
that's
love
who
that
gave
it's
me the
spelled
idea,
B-E-L-M.
right? Like, I mean, I was
Wow.
following that path when I got this idea, Jesus us, be Jesus, right in the ground, love, right?
Jesus us.
We can make a difference that way, if nothing else but for us. But I can tell you, so I had this, I've had so many people so resistant to this, literally, and hopefully he'll watch this recording. Morgan is so absolutely resistant to this. There's another one, I've literally supplied him with $333 in funding, but he would not make a love bomb.
I wonder, I bet it has something to do with how intellectual, like how much you're wrapped up in the mind. And I know I'm totally guilty of that a lot, which is probably why I have it. You know, it doesn't make logical sense. Why do I need to do this? What's it going to accomplish? All that kind of BS just blocks the love from happening. You're blocking yourself from making love, from giving love, from receiving love, from seeing love. You know?
Right. I mean, I've had somebody tell me that's fake love. What the fuck, right? Like, I mean, the responses to it have been unique. Birdie, are you here? I know you were logged in at one point. Are you actually listening? Are
Yes,
you?
I'm actually listening.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is something you can speak to because you're the first to complete our challenge.
Uh-huh.
You're the one that inspired me starting that group.
Okay.
And you're about to come over here and love bomb with me in person.
Yes.
And you noticed that about yourself, correct? That you were having challenges, that you wanted to be perfect with it.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So that kind of, we're talking about signs. I'm a Virgo. So I can lean towards when it's actually also my upbringing, perfectionism, and there were points whenever I started doing the love bombs, they challenged me to step outside of having to be perfect with it. Because there would be times where maybe I didn't want to reuse the same material, or it wasn't, meeting up to what I expected it to look like, finding it within myself that love isn't about perfection. You know what I mean? It's about creating that with what you have presently, and you should be able to create it wherever you are, whether you're around beautiful things or not so pretty things or whatever. Love, you should be able to create love. And so yes, it got to a point where I had to really sit with just being simple, because love should be simple, right? And sure, it's fun to make, all the pretty things, of course, but I did appreciate the challenge of stepping back and just putting in the intention of love and letting love be however it was going to be with what I had, so yes, there was a lot that I had learned. And also you were talking about earlier, leaning into the love bombs when you're having a challenging time. That was something that was really big for me, is whenever I would be in a moment of stress or facing a challenge, because of my building love bombs every day, it would just pop up in my mind. I need to make a love bomb right now, because whenever I was in those moments of creating love bombs, it brought me back to a place of center within myself. It became meditative, the intention just stilled and regulated, me to a calm state, to where whenever I was finished with my love bomb, raising the love within myself, feeling a sense of accomplishment for having created it, I was then able to walk away from the love bomb and feel like I could approach whatever challenge I was facing from a more clear mind and a clear energetic space. So yes, love bombs have been extremely magical for me, for sure.
Awesome. Nathaniel.
What's up?
Great.
So yours, you've taken the challenge and been at it. See, Lisa kind of, she love bombed with me in person a bit. And then she made it her own with her love shells when it came up with the trees. That's when, and she has been making her own love ever since, even before the challenge, right?
Oh yeah.
Before the,
I mean, it was just so therapeutic for me. I love it. And Birdie, talking to you about doing it perfectly, I paint and I do things and I've sold things, and I felt like I was having you know, I do those like, oh, very intricately, very, oh, that I want to use that color. I want to use these certain colors. But with the seashells, I'm putting colors together that I don't normally put together. And I have paint pens and I have paint. And I'm doing the paint pens because they're easier because I can, you know, get out a lot more of them doing it that way, and like spray painting and whatever, how I need to do it. But I don't have to make it perfect. And that's the beauty of it, was that you can relax. I'm not selling them to anybody. I'm giving them away. I mean, they're going traveling everywhere. So I'm just whatever in the moment, like you said, in the moment, what I'm feeling. It puts you in the moment of these colors and the shapes. And I'm like, well, I want to do a little bit of maybe codes coming through. I'm feeling like they're going to develop into something else, you know, like codes
Well,
coming.
it grows, and that's
Right.
the very first one I made.
Art grows. If art doesn't grow, it's not art.
Right. And you've got to be struck by the art muse, right? There's an article, I don't know if you've read it, Nathaniel. There's a few articles, you know, 2 of yours have made huge differences. But this one is called The Temporary Autonomous Zone by Hakeem Bey. And there's a part in it that talks about armor full and poetic terrorism. Okay. And so I consider myself a poetic terrorist, and you have to be struck by the muse, you know, and it's art as crime and crime as art is one of the things that he talks about too. And that way you can do graffiti with chalk all day long and they can't charge you with shit because it can be washed away.
Instead of a poetic terrorist, I'd say you're more of a poetic revolutionary.
Well, that's, you know, that's why I call myself a love bombing heartivist, and I'm a heartivist. I like to keep the heart of it all. It's all about the art for me.
Yeah.
And my life is the greatest piece of art that I have. And this story that I mean, if I wrote this shit, there is a part of me that is just like unbelievably creative, because I can say that, like, as Malia, that was what the Love Bombs had to do, was break through all of this creative anxiety that my mother had given me. I was told I was not the creative one. And I mean, I still can't draw much more than love.
No, but you're
Like,
creative with your words. You are creative with your soul, your spirit, and your word.
but I was, you know, for me to start trying to express myself, there was always this anxiety that came up because she would be over my shoulder. It had to be perfect. It had to be perfect. And I went into paralyzation with it, right? And so the very first time I was carrying water. I started my water journey in 2014 in Texas in a St. Mary's church. And I told Spirit, I saw the water in the in the baptismal thing. And I said, I will carry water, but I don't have anything to put it in. And it was like, turn around. And I turned around and there was a child's sippy cup. And that's all Spirit would let me have. It would break anything else that I had at first, right? And I went through, let's see, I know I went Texas through Mississippi. I wound up at Moundsville, Alabama, the portal to the soul, up on the Rainbow Highway, down into Ruby Cave in Tennessee. I was at the Coochie River on the Rainbow Highway.
You sound like you're talking about made up places. It's so
I
fun.
know, doesn't it? Right? I didn't even know where I was. I just like, and so I wound up in North Carolina. I was up there near y'all in North Carolina. And then I got the call to go to Colorado. And I had a car that this guy was riding with me, and we take off. And in Kansas, we stopped. Come to find out, I was in the same town that Ram Dass had done LSD in or some shit like that. And I woke up at 4:20 in the morning, which is the time of day I was born, except in the afternoon. I was born at 4:20 p.m., but 4:20 was hitting hard. I just found out what time of day I was born, and spirit was letting me know, yes, this is true in a sense. And when we drove into Colorado, the eclipse was happening. And I watched the whole thing. And then when it was done, a phoenix showed up in the rearview mirror, and I wind up in Colorado Springs. And I meet this man that had worked with the sun dances, and he has star knowledge and stuff like that. And he was all about me. And he gave me water from the Chalice Well in Glastonbury and told me to go to Zapata Falls. Oh, it was a journey getting to Zapata Falls, 11-mile canyon, 11 are huge. I stop at Rainbow Trail because it was rainbows and double digits. Okay. Rainbows and double digits, 11-11, especially, which Sep's birthday is 11-11. So I was following a thread that has led me here. And then this is the land of rainbows. I mean, I just had 3 days straight of them constantly. And so I stopped at the Rainbow Trail. I got to tell you this one, because stopped at the Rainbow Trail, and this car, like, I had gotten out, I cut my foot, and I was barefoot, and I wanted to get snow in my waters, and there was snow on the Rainbow Trail. So like I got out, got the snow, I sit back in the car, and all of a sudden this car goes and stops, and he jumps out, and he comes running over, and he goes, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I think so." And he's like, "No, you're not. You are definitely not okay, but that's okay. I know what you need." And he runs back to his car, and he comes back with the giantest jar of weed I've ever seen and starts pouring it in my lap. And he tells me go to Joyful Journeys and then Zapata Falls. So I did DMT, smoked DMT for the first time at Zapata Falls. This guy was there that said, "Hey, you want to smoke some DMT?" And on the way down from that, spirit told me to stop and make spell out love. And then I made like this little fairy house with sticks and things like that. I had a feeling it was on top of a grave. And then on the way, there was this beautiful like salt flatland thing and trash. And I just had him stop, and I made another one. And then from there, I just started making them. You know, it was very much to make the love bombs. And at first I thought they said bombs. Now, I done been marked a terrorist once with the Houston Free Thinkers over seed bombs. And I am on the watch list for having been at Standing Rock, and I'm a targeted individual, and we don't need to be blowing shit up. We need to be soothing things.
Yes, I love that.
They're love balms, BALM. It's a way to come and calm the waters, soothe the waters. You were talking about waters. In Waitaha, they have a saying, you don't let anyone boil your water. Because if you let anyone boil your water, you have let down all of those before you that did not let anyone boil their water, because they are the people of peace. And peace is another huge part for me. I'm inspired by the Peace Pilgrim. I don't know if anybody's heard of her, but I highly recommend checking out her videos on YouTube. She walked over 25,000 miles for peace with nothing but what was in her pockets. I'm not that badass. I only did that on Kauai for about a month and a half. I have done it, but I prefer not to walk, actually. I'm a roller. I rolled around in a lot of cars. You know, I got into cars with crazy fuckers. Okay. Crazy. And if the car breaks down, get out and make love bomb, period. car breaks down, get out and make a love bomb.
So someone asked a question in the chat to me. They were saying, hey, does a love bomb have to be something you make with things that you find, or can it be something that you like write with paint, or what are there any rules to it, or is it's really just about however you're feeling inspired to show the love, right?
It is. Now, I recommend doing the practice of going out in nature and making love with the things that are there to connect with nature. Ultimately,
I
though,
haven't accessed that yet. My own journey with the love bombs, that I've gotten into the challenge and I've started doing them. I had fun making one in the teacher's lounge because I knew everybody that came in was going to see it. But mine has kind of, I like a challenge. And so my MO right now has been like, I got to make one. It's on my list. I got to do it. It's almost like I've set a timer, it's got to make a love bomb. So I feel like it's going to get a little bit more free flow as things go on. But
yeah, so we talked about a challenge, maybe, because we talked about maybe doing this regularly. So maybe, go out to a park and go around the park, picking up the trash and finding the cool things that are L's, O's, V's, E's, right? And then pick a tree and go to the tree and make a little necklace around the tree. The trees like necklaces. You can kind of tell whether a tree is a male tree or a female tree. They've got yonis or lingams, like trees will start talking to you if you start doing this with them, okay? And the trees really, really like it. At the waters is another good place for this. And you go and it's a great way to work with nature. There are no rules though. And if all you've got available is paints, yes, make love. And that's a great way to do it. But I highly recommend, and if you go to the park and you do it all of a sudden, so I call them fairy traps, okay? 9 times out of 10, you're gonna catch a little kid. There's your fairy. And you teach the child, you get them involved in making the love bomb. And you'll be the most popular being. Like, go out dressed like a fairy. Go dressed magically to the local park and start making a love bomb.
When you get back over here in the States sometime, when you're traveling around again, we're going to have you come to a love burn sometime down in Florida with us in February.
Maybe they'd like to come here because it looks like
yeah.
I'm going to be a minute before I get out of here.
I'll definitely be doing the love bombs while at Love Burn here soon. Lots of pictures to come from that.
Yeah, she's about to go, I think. She's about to go and then come here. That's the plan.
I feel like that's how you said Birdie's the first one that finished the challenge. And how about that? She's about to go and see you. I have an intrinsic feeling that I haven't done a lot of international travel, but that little island you're on is at the top of my list now. And it might get closer to the top when I get done with the challenge. that might be the secret key at the end.
Well, that is it. When people complete the challenge, we have gotten to know each other a bit then. And that is the first, I've decided, because I let a few people come over that haven't done and paid for their tickets, and let them come that didn't do love bombs to do it. And now it is like, you do 33 love bombs in 33 days, and we're going to talk about a ticket to come over and some kind of exchange and things like that. We may only be able to do it in the off season, to where, but I can't leave. So I'm willing to spend a bit of money to get my friends here. It has been amazing to me how hard it is to get somebody to make love bombs when I'm offering $33 for 33 love bombs in 33 days. It was a play test to see, can you actually buy love? Obviously not really. So, but I do offer these things. And one of the things that I'm working on now, idea wise, because I have my main anchor is in Waitaha. Waitaha is all about the waters. Waitaha is all about peace. Waitaha came from my journey to Aotearoa, to New Zealand. And there's a man there named Stony Burke, Stony the Storyteller Burke. And he is my anchor. He literally lives at Bluff, New Zealand on 23 Peace Street. And there's a giant anchor chain there. And my job was to lift the anchor, and I wound up finding one the second time I went over. And Stony has a 63-foot double-hulled waka, which is a canoe. It's Polynesian style. I have videos on YouTube of him talking to me about Waitaha and about the waters and about the waka. And when I put my feet on that waka, so I'm very clear that Waitaha is who called me. I got to New Zealand at one point and they laid a disc in my hand. And they had buried that the first time in ceremony at the same time that I had committed suicide. And then they had dug it up and buried it again in 2012 when I was having my shift. And I knew without a doubt that is part of what called me. And getting this waka finished is huge for me. So I'm in the process of working where people can complete and get the $33 and then us have that donated to Stony and to help complete the waka project and work that in. Because if there's anything that I've held firmly, it's been that vision of the waka being completed for Stony. So
Very cool.
And I have tried this man. I mailed him a tablet to try to get him online to be able to do these kinds of things. And he calls it the beast and he's afraid it'll eat him. So we'll have to find somebody in New Zealand that will go there with the technology to be able to get him on, because he will not do it.
Well, maybe you can get him to take actual photographs or Polaroids and mail them in.
He will do that. He will write to anybody and he'll answer the phone and talk to you. And he does me regular. I tell people, I've told Seth, I said, if you ever have a problem with me and you think I'm really wrong on something, you call Stony and you tell him. And if he tells me that I'm wrong, I'll listen. That's our, and until then, don't even try it.
Good, good system of checks and balances, huh?
Yes. I have my anchor that way. I have my feminine anchor, which is Palace, and she's here right now. And then I have my masculine anchor and Elder, right? Like that hold you in place, hold you to accountability. Because accountability and integrity are the two, those are very, very important to me.
Oh, I agree. Those are two of my favorite words.
Yeah.
I'm an integrity guy.
I want to hear from Kimberly. What do you think about all this?
Let's see. Gotta unmute yourself, Kim.
Unmute.
Oh, I see.
There you go.
Okay, I don't do Zoom too often, as you can see. I'm familiar with a lot of what it is you're doing and what this program is that you talk about. But I'm definitely a light worker and very connected. I spend probably the majority of my time just studying and practicing meditation and sound therapy and that type of thing. So, I mean, I'm right on board with all of this. I mean, a lot of what you're saying makes sense, but a lot also does not.
Well, so you talk about being a light worker here. So I'm not a light worker. And I kind of feel like this is almost like an evolution of that, moving out of the duality of the light and the dark and the battle between the two. This is a way to pop up and be a love worker. A love worker.
It's all about the love.
and kind of redefining ourselves. And I love like taking, you know, if you're a sound person, create the love and then do the sound over it. The other day we did one, the rainbows were coming unbelievably. So it was like, okay. And the flowers are starting to die on the balcony. So I cut them and I spelled out love on the ground. And then the shadows, the sun came in and the shadow was so strong that Palace came out with her little rope and started spinning, and we were sending it out into the, you know, and
I love that.
so incorporating the love on your altar, having love spelled out. And then when I take the pictures or I work with the videos, I use reels a lot. I put together the little 90-second reels, and then I'll put the love in there in that way. And it's like spell casting that out, right?
Absolutely. I
And
think that, you know, everything comes down to love. Everything is love, and everything is energy and vibration. And you raise your energy, you vibrate at a higher frequency, you're more connected to the universe, to source. And obviously, you know, you can't have light without dark. You do need to, you do need both. You do need that duality. I agree 100% with all of that.
yeah. And so love worker, as I kind of feel like an evolution of this idea of light worker, you know, because, you know, I ran into, when I traveled through all this, I can tell you most of the light workers did not accept me. They were the evil stepsisters a lot and things like that.
There's a little bit of the
I-
Maleficent timeline there.
Right. I've been accused of being a poisoner, evil. I mean, that witch wound is fucking strong with me. And being the love worker, you know, if you've got a light worker, a dark worker, and I've sat side by side on a Greyhound bus with a dark worker freaking telling me everything about their stuff that they do. And I've sat and battled with them over a soul on a Greyhound bus too. And I've been at a festival where everybody, the dark workers all saw me as the Holy Mother and were coming with their tokens to have their contracts breaking. I don't play in the war game, and that's a war game to me. It perpetuates a battle between, and love is all both and more than we can possibly imagine. And this is a place to start. To start and to
I
hold
would
on.
just say that make sure that, you know, when you're around people like that, that you're just not absorbing that energy, because you don't want to come down to meet someone else's energy. You want to allow them to come up and meet your energy, because you know, they're always going to be in a better place. Don't you know, compromise that for anybody, you know, whatever their reason is, light, dark. I mean, if I were to say dark, I would consider that more like shadow work. But
Well, there's dark too. I mean, there's the dark goddess. There's a lot around the language that we use that came out of some pretty racist times too. And you know, I've on my journey, my sixth husband was in the Aryan Brotherhood, and I got him out of that. He was in prison when I married him. And then on my journey over in Aotearoa, I met the 666 Dark Star Tanafa, who was Black Power. Like, it's like all land, right? Gotta love it all. Gotta love it all. And
Unconditional love. It's unconditional.
it's intentional. It's not even unconditional. It's intentional. I don't like this unconditional love shit. Borderline personalities and narcissists use that shit to tolerate abuse. And first and foremost, we love ourselves first. We have to be part of those others.
Instead of saying unconditional, a better phrase I think would be all inclusive. All inclusive.
And these are some of the studies, right? When you start diving into love, then you start having ponderations, contemplations about what is love. What is it? What does it smell like? What does it look like? What does it do against what this fake capitalistic, you know, excuse for love has become? And so these are explorations, and that's what I hoped our love bombing heARTavist group would meld into, is some conversations around love. I really, I had my own experience running around there doing this, and I've done it with so many different people at different times. Very few have continued the practice, but they'll pick it up sometimes. It's funny enough. Like James traveled with me. I picked James up after he had walked across the Mississippi River Bridge twice. And we traveled together and we made some love bombs. And James came back into my life recently because of the love bomb. He, it's showing up in his pictures, made him think about me again, right? And show up. And I mean, that fucker ever gets his damn passport and gets his dogs taken care of for a little bit, and damn straight I'll have him over here. He knows how to chop wood and carry water. So I've had my own experience, but I challenged Birdie because I wanted to see if somebody else had the same experience I did, if they consistently did it, right? And what other people's experiences are. I consider myself like a scientist, right? Maybe a mad one. I have my own hill to live on. It's okay. But to bake this fun, to run experiments, to find out, is it true? Is it true? The only way to find out if it's true is to test it, right? Now, by Birdie's experience, I can tell this is a powerful experience. If you do 33 love bombs in 33 days and let it work on you. And some of my friends that have done love bombs, but not consistently, have joined in to do this too, I still have to fight with Sep about doing a love bomb a day. Like this is, I don't understand the resistance to it, but I think the group experience helps us do it more. Right?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to share you in a group format. I know that you are miles away on an island of water, but one of the positive things to this technique and technology is that we can get together like this and share those ideas. And I know that there's something about presenting it as play, as the games. And this is just one of the games in your back pocket that you've learned as an angel on the road that is fun to play.
The highway, because
the highway.
I'm generally always high. I like to stay that way.
And that, we've all heard 28, if you do something for 28 days, it becomes a habit and it creates change. And 33 is just a fun double-digit master number to, add on an extra 5, and 5 is the number of change. So if you take 28 and add 5, you might get a little extra change with it. So there's just so much. I mean, I love the words and the play on that level. So I'm excited because I intrinsically know there's something in it. And I feel like the resistance that we all face with it is related to the same resistance that kind of keeps us in the mundane muggle zone that limits the amount of magical miracle moments we're letting in. We're receiving, we're giving, all of that. So I'm here for, I don't know if I'm a scientist, but I'm definitely here for the experiment of life. And this has got something fun in the mix that I had a feeling other people want to know about this. Other people want to play. They just don't even know the game's going on,
So who else do we have here that we haven't heard from? Let's see.
We've had a few people pop
Faith
in. I've
popped in
welcomed-
a little bit, but Faith, what do you think about love bombs?
Well, sorry, I'm also was like stung.
Faith and this wonderful divine masculine here. What is his name?
That's Dexter. Say hey, Dexter.
Dexter.
It's nice to meet you, and I've been enjoying the conversation so far.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
I was thinking too, I remember Nathaniel had made a comment about, oh, I don't know what that resistance is for some people who may not want to engage in the love bombs. I don't know if it's like related to like intellectualism or not, or being too scientific. But for me, like I do a lot of research and I'm like a therapist. And so when I hear these things, it feels like it's very grounded in science in terms of why it could be so effective for helping people feel like more at peace and feel more calm and like bring greater love and joy to their life, like being able to engage in some of that positive creativity and spilling that love and having that mindfulness can be very therapeutic. And so I could totally see why it could be a very helpful like tool for anyone. So
Yeah, I even when I'm
And
in a
it's
really
free.
stressful situation, I spell out love in my palm. Like just sit there and spell it out in my palm.
it's
I
good.
can't do anything else. Well, thank you. And thank you for coming. Where are y'all located?
We're in North Carolina as well.
Okay.
Greensboro.
Awesome. Awesome.
Hey, did
All
I hear?
right.
Are you in Hawaii?
I'm on Terceira Island, which is off the coast of Portugal, between the United States and Portugal.
But you
It's,
did find your way to Hawaii for a minute, didn't you? Didn't
I did. I've been through Hawaii. I went first in 2015. Then I was there in 2017, 2018 and 2019, I believe. And I stood on Mauna Kea there. But Terceira is about a 5.5 hour flight from Boston. And there's direct flights from JFK, Boston, and Toronto. And they're off season, they're not very expensive at all. We'll find out what they are during season, but off season, they're not too bad at all. So
I've never flown before.
oh, well, get your passport and come visit.
I
You would love it here.
look forward to trying it one day for sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty, so off season, it like everybody that's flown so far, the flight is near empty. So you get to lay down in 3 seats and fly over and sleep overnight. And then the next morning you show up and we pick you up and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning and everything is closed here. Like nothing wakes up really till around 9 to 10 o'clock. Like,
Just don't tell the pilot you're gonna love bomb him. That wouldn't be a good idea.
well, that's why I call them bombs, love bombs.
It's all about the clear
A-L-M.
pronunciation on the A and the L to get rid of the O and the M and the B.
Love
Yes,
bomb.
bombs, love
So-
bombs. We're soothing. It's all about peace, you know, all about calm. Let's like calm this stuff down. We
I've got a
got
couple.
enough people being outraged.
I've got a couple other people I haven't heard from. So Ruth, are you
Yes.
still out there? Ruthie. I don't know if she stepped
Ruth.
away. Ruth is like my sister from another mister. She's coming
Awesome.
from Raleigh. What about Lisa H? Are you out there?
Lisa.
She's been
Hold
putting some
on.
things in the chat, so I know she's been paying attention there. I wasn't sure if she was wanting to unmute and say anything too. Lisa is coming to us from Durham. And so Lisa I've met not too long ago, but she has been interested in all this kind of jazz as well. And then there was a
Nice.
couple other people, I think people floated in and out.
Yeah.
But since we've recorded it, I think we can do whatever you want to with it. We can post it in the Love Bomb activist or heARTavist group. We can put it
Yeah.
on this discussion for anybody that couldn't be here. I know it got about maybe 5 more minutes or so. And so I was just curious if there's anything else that, I feel like we could talk to you once a month or so, and you'd still have new stories and stuff to share. And I'd still want to know about some of the other games. But if there was anything else that you were feeling called to kind of share or promote or anything like that, I'm gonna put the Love Bombing heARTavist group name in the chat. So if anybody is not already familiar with it on Facebook, they can find you there.
Yeah, anybody can add me as a friend. And I mean, if they want to reach out personally, I'm sitting here and I don't have many English speakers to speak to. So like, and I don't have, I mean, I garden or whatever. Right now, I can't even really go outside because it's too cold on my mouth. And I do have a lot of time at my disposal. Since I make time, it's kind of easy. So if anybody wants to reach out, the Love Bombing heARTavist group, definitely please come in. If you want to take the Love Bomb Challenge, you come in, announce yourself to the group and say, I'm taking the Love Bomb Challenge. You've got to keep up with how many love bombs you've created. When you get to 33, call Love Bomb Bingo. And we'll talk about getting you your $33, or if you want to, challenge somebody else with the 33, whatever. Like, I don't care. I've budgeted $333. Only one person has taken the $33 yet.
I think that's so fascinating too. And you said another aspect to the experience is it showed, hey, you really can't buy love. You've got to really love
can't.
it.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. You just got to, I don't know. I mean, we're trying to figure out how we get the love bombing movement to take off, right? Make love for change. We say we want change. Are we willing to do something for it? And this is very simple. This is a way to do it. And we test it out, right? We've got Birdie who can speak to the experience so far. City, she was already making love bombs. This is like, we find out the people that are on the same wavelength. We're hitting the same vibe regardless, right? But I'm running into other people that were also doing this too. They were already doing it. City was already doing it in the future in New Zealand. And she joined in and did 33 days too. So those are the two in the group. Right now I have Morgan, who is participating. Nathaniel is participating. I have James and Lisa. And then my friend Riva has been taking the Love Bomb Challenge in her own way. Her camera doesn't hold pictures. So she's going back through her old pictures for pictures that say love to her. And I mean, I'd like to develop where we run different challenges. If you have a challenge that you think is exciting, let's run it, make a challenge, I think we could develop this into possibly something where we can make some artwork calendars or table books or something with the art and a little booklet that would be about love bombing heARTavism. And as soon as you finish the challenge, you were officially a love bombing heARTavist. And you were an ambassador of love. And I'm calling Terceta the center of the love you-verse.
Very cool. And I know one of our bonding things has been the different wordplay. And so I love all of those, like I wrote down, geez, it's us, Jesus, Jesus, us, Jesus, us. I love those little things. I love the stories that you have along the way. All of the stories, the art of storytelling has been kind of lost and kind of, we think about, oh, it's just a storyteller. Everything used to be oral tradition. The things that have stood the test of time were just stories, and there's so much gold in them. And then we've got, everybody says the Bible's, one of the best stories, but so many people don't even realize some of the metaphoric gold in it and all of the things with Jesus. And I find it so curious, the cleaning the feet, the carrying water, all these things that get overlooked have such a literal aspect. The idea of walking barefoot. I haven't done a lot of that. I had one friend once upon a time, barefoot Wade, and he did it all the time. But I can't even imagine, and we've got a whole industry that's meant to just keep us in fancy, cool, hip tennis shoes all the time. I wonder what
I
happened.
said, yeah, Wayne Dyer said, if you run around in shoes all day, the whole world begins to feel like leather. Okay. And that hit me. And I tell you, if I tried to get a pair of shoes, it was stolen or I forgot it and I was like, fucking Wayne Dyer stole my damn shoes again. Right? Like I was like, it took 2.5 years before I actually had a pair of shoes come to me.
You had to earn your glass slipper, ruby slippers to click together. The universe wanted you to spend some time. I mean, that whole path, the Jesus Christ path, totally has got a barefoot component to it in some way. And I can't help but notice
barefoot and walking with nothing, nothing.
All the we talked about, this miracle moment stuff and that archetype of Pisces. Anybody that knows how body parts correspond with those 12 different energies, the feet is Pisces also. So
is it?
Yep. And then, you've got the reflexology, everything, massaging those feet, all those little places that correspond with everything is so much more than we think it is when we only give it our superficial attention.
Yes. Approaching the world mythologically.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all these people that go off and astral travel and stuff. I am mostly here. Okay. And I don't know if you know about Astarius Miraculi. Astarius Miraculi made a pretty big hit with me with his spirit rap music. It was a piece. And he's excellent at intentions and calling things in. And one of his things is I invoke and dream awake. So I used to dream a lot. I don't like it because then I'm too tired in my daily life, right? So I invoke and dream awake. And if they want to fucking dance with me, they're going to come with fucking human skin for us to tap dance. And in that sense, I have had Jesus show up. I have had Lucifer show up. I have had Orion show up. I have had Moses show up. I have had them all show up with human skin for us to tap dance. And I said I was dancing with the devil in the pale moonlight until the bitch gave up and I was still setting the tone on the dance floor, dancing and enjoying myself. And he went home. And that took a while to get there. That bitch bumped me off the dance floor and set the tune and had me dancing monkey for a lot of times until I finally got there. And once you finally get there, then you own the dance floor.
Well, anybody that knows me knows how much I love to dance, and I don't mind being the only one that stands up and does it. I just went out of town for my friend's birthday, and she was celebrating her birthday, and we were out at this place, and they had a live band playing, and everybody's kind of sitting down, and she was ready to go, and I was like, Lord, I can't let her have a birthday celebration and not go and get up and dance with her. I was like, I know how to dance. Come on, let's go get up and stand in front of everybody and shake it down. So you got to have some fun with it.
Oh yeah, there were these two Puerto Rican women. Oh, Erica Gonzalez and Julian, or I don't know. But early on, those two, they set their alarms on their phones. So like my birthday is November 4th. So 11:04 a.m. and p.m., their alarm would go off and they would celebrate their birthday. Got them free food, got them all kinds of shit to just celebrate their birthday twice a day. And that one would go, it's your birthday, and the other would go, it's my birthday, and they would start celebrating. And
so funny. My birthday's November 5th.
So is Lisa's.
For, dancing with my sister.
So is Lisa's.
Very cool.
Lisa's is the 5th, mine's the 4th. Sep's is the 11th.
Wow.
We're gonna have a Scorpio party this year, sister.
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. Lisa, your birthday is when?
Lisa,
She's muted.
unmute. Unmute.
I know y'all are talking about the Lisa that you know, but I also know Lisa H. Her birthday is October 31st, but she's
Oh,
also
wow.
Scorpio. So you got a lot of Scorpio on the call.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
seems to be I'm calling them.
How many
It seems to
Scorpios
be
are
I'm
here?
calling them.
How many, Rose, I think you're right. How many Scorpios are here?
Well,
It's me,
there's
Rose,
two on the screen.
4.
I don't know James. He's the only one on the call right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've also got Ruth is Aquarius. Dexter's a Cancer.
I'm a Libra. I'm not a Scorpio.
Libra.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Sagittarius, so we got some others in the mix.
I got some others, but I'm drawing like the woman I was talking about that does the Romanian fairy tale stuff. Her birthday is the 10th. So
Oh.
I swear this, I've been planning this for a while, like wanting it for a minute. I want
time.
to throw a Scorpio blowout birthday party this year here in Tusetta.
Hey, I think that could be something to intend towards. It's time to clean up the water with all that Scorpio. The Scorpios, let's purify it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's the island of San Miguel over here, has the best hot waters for a hot water gathering.
That
Like,
sounds amazing.
all of us go and stay a couple nights at Terra Nostra over there and getting in the waters at night. We'd be fixing some stuff. Yeah. So yeah, come bake your 33 love bombs and join in the love bombing heartavism. And I would love to do this like once a month or something. If if y'all are game, we'll just hook it up with the love bombing group. I'm gonna make you an admin of it, Nathaniel.
Well, I gotta I don't do that yet. Let me get the challenge done. I want to. Now I'm excited. You know what? When you said this, I just assumed that I was one of lots of people that had already done this. I had no idea. I'm sitting here with the VIP veteran Birdie, who I'm also finding out's a fellow burner. So that's great that she's kind of pioneered and gone ahead of me. And now I'm racing to try to get to be number 2.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun thing, I think, and it's something that we can grow on and have some fun with. And we definitely have the place here to hold gatherings of us getting together, and I definitely welcome people coming here to love bomb with me. I've got some pretty big love bombs planned that I can't do by myself. There's an area with cannons and it needs to be love bombed. So like a big love bomb, you know what I mean? And this one day there was a rainbow just out there where it looked like the cannon was shooting the rainbow and I was shooting love across. It was like so awesome. So like, I look forward to having you here, Nathaniel, and anybody that, shares the heart for love. Our place here, it's one of the things I want to do with it is grief gardening. Because grief is basically kind of death, and grief is what brought Sepp and I together. His wife Susie and him had started this place and she died in 2011. And that's what the Quinta de Susie is, our Airbnb and our Quinta here. Which involves quite a bit. We have a community house, we have the Airbnb off season, we're hoping maybe like Nathaniel might want to host a group gathering or something in the winter time next year, or
I'm planning
the terraces are great for dancing. And so I see dancing here. In fact, we've got to go pick a new floor for the terrace down at the palace.
I'm excited because I see myself getting there at some point to have fun, to meet you, to scout out that island and to dream on it. And then I know how to pull a group together and throw a party. And so I'm up to having a field trip. And I feel like you got enough people on this call that would want to do that. I could see us filling up one of those planes over there and having a fun field trip out there sometime. So let's keep all that juice flowing. I've got some big unexpected surprise changes I feel like coming this summer, which means I don't know what they are or what when they happen, but the universe has been opening a lot of doors and winking and twinkling and throwing me some synchronicities that have been getting my attention. And I've thought, what is my ambition in life? I don't have a lot of traditional ambition. I don't want to get to the top of any ladder or be any boss. The only thing I really care about in this life is more miracle moments. I live for the synchronicities that show you something else is going on. And I'm not going to go all into the story, but I've had this other astrologer contact me, and the links and the messages and the people involved have gotten together in such weird ways. I'm here for the weird. I want the weird miracle
Amen.
stuff. That's what it's about.
Amen.
Yes, most definitely. And if anything, I called myself at times, I referred to myself as the alternative life with style coach. I can see alternative ways of doing things because I've been outside the system. I can see the unexpected connections. I can see not necessarily where to wind up, but the next thing that might blow open a whole new perspective and window. I used to be, being in the caring profession is about giving, right? And one of the things is making that space, stepping out. And instead of, so I talked to you about this, the fogs, the veil that is covering us is fear, obligation, guilt, and shame. Those are the fogs, okay? So when you come up against something, you ask yourself, even if it's the dishes, quit having to yourself, quit gotta toing yourself, quit shouldn't yourself.
Don't should all over yourself.
All of that. And when you get to it, look at it and say, am I doing it out or not doing it out of fear, obligation, guilt, or shame? If that's the case, you either got to do it or don't do it. You can do it once you want to do it, once you choose to do it. And what are your motivations for doing it? If you're doing it out of fear, no matter what you're doing, you're muddying the waters.
You just said the key Scorpio phrase, motivation. Questing into questioning the motivation and purifying the motivation.
I mean, I believe I told you a story of being in New Zealand. So I flew to New Zealand the first time with $100, and I knew 2 people. And the first one went kind of weird with like all kinds of like trying to push me in an orgy and shit like that. And it was time to go, and I went on the journey and I was gifted a car. I was gifted a car for my work. I didn't have a car for a decade. I still don't, like, Sepp has a car and I ain't driving here. That like this is insane for a person that grew up on flat land. So, and I really thought I needed a car. See, that's where you don't really know what you need sometimes.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right? Don't really know what you need. Trust your higher self to know what you need.
Yeah, right. All the times that car didn't come through.
Oh God. And
I mean,
so,
really.
but I'm in New Zealand and I'm in a place called Golden Blaze, Takaka. It was absolutely beautiful. And I'm there, and they had told me they had set up for me to meet this Maori healer to have a session with him. And I had $60 to my name. It costs $60 to get your car across the ferry to get to the North Island, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm out of tobacco. And I said, well, why wouldn't you buy the tobacco? Well, because I was afraid I wouldn't have enough money. Then you've got to buy the fucking tobacco. Like, what's the kindest thing to do to yourself? Like, when you're stressed out and shit, stressing over trying to quit tobacco ain't the time to do it. And a pack of tobacco costs $60 in New Zealand. $60. So I went over and I bought the tobacco. When I walked away, I didn't have a lighter. So I stopped at this little cafe and these people were at the table and he didn't have tobacco, but he had the lighter. And we started talking. He was a filmmaker. And the next thing I know, I'm presenting my Standing Rock story and everything in front of a water thing and doing my first and only open mic where I did one of my pieces about water. And I left that town with over $300 and a ticket across the ferry. Had to buy the tobacco because I wouldn't have bought it out of fear.
Yeah.
That's one of those little weird moments.
So
Well-
those kinds of things, like walking yourself through that. I was staying in people's homes. And a lot of them expect you to be Cinderella for staying in their fucking house. I can guarantee you that. And I'd sit there and the dishes need to be done. But if I'm doing them because I feel guilty or if I feel obligated, I can't do the dishes, even if it's going to piss their asses off. Because I'm trying to get over my own codependency and fawning too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those kind of moments aren't comfortable. We have to go for the uncomfortable and get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. You
And
gotta get
then
through
what
it.
happens is it flips and you have a real hard time being comfortable. That's uncomfortable. And,
There you-
Divine
Because-
paradox.
yes, the paradox. So the renunciate, I went as a renunciate, renouncing personal ownership, renouncing money, renouncing all of this. And then I get to this point and I have to renounce renunciation to still be a renunciate.
Yes, you have to give up on giving up.
And so now I have a couple of bank accounts and Sep puts money in it and I don't quite know what to do with that now. Right.
Well, Rose, it seems like people are starting to need to leave anyway, and we've gone about 15 or so over. So I was just going to see if
Sounds
there's
great.
any final thoughts you want to leave us with tonight, and then we're going to wrap her up.
I just want to thank everybody for coming. This has been awesome to be here with you and to share this. Nathaniel, I mean, other than Sep, I don't think I've felt so very seen by someone, which you doing a chart definitely helps you to feel seen. And I recommend that to anybody that hasn't. And I also open up and allow him to compare my chart to yours if you ever wish to.
Okay.
Mine is,
Yeah.
or our relationship chart, because our relationship has its own chart with him too.
Right.
And I invite any of you to reach out for personal contact, and I hope to see you making love bombs and see your creations, and I see where this goes together, because this is truly to get her. We do this together.
Yeah.
And this is not, I've done everything I've done to be able to open up a channel, because if I can't do it, then nobody can do it. And if I can do it, then somebody else can do it.
Mhm.
And I beat this fucking game, y'all. I beat it.
Well,
If anybody can, you can. We will. Yeah.
Yes.
and
Yes,
we're
this
ready
is
to play
us.
some new games that are a lot more fun.
Right.
I put my contact info in the chat thing if anybody wants to find me anywhere. And Rose has said the same thing for her on Facebook. I know. You want me to type it in there, Rose? Or you want to put
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Does-
you can type it in. And
Rose.
my YouTube channel is Rose Time Lord. I haven't been putting much up on it, but you know, if people start asking me questions, I might start doing videos again. I don't know. I've kind of felt like I was like, I mean, especially being put here on an island in the middle of nowhere, it's like kind of forgotten in a sense, you know, and it
You're
feels
there.
like this needs to be for something.
Oh yeah,
And
it is.
the only way.
You've been such a traveler. The universe has you grounded, surrounded by water right now, but you're doing a lot of your own personal work, healing work, all of that, and who knows what kind of center it will be for you and for others in other ways. So nothing's by accident, as you know, and when it's time for you to do work somewhere else, you'll do work somewhere else. So until then, we will love you working there, and you will still get to flow into everybody else through the techniques that will work in the meantime.
I appreciate you, and I just, my heart is overflowing with gratitude for this. And this is a very critical time for me too, because my daughter died on February 5th. And so this is having something else to kind of focus on and to be able to share and feel connected and feel like I'm making some kind of a difference really helps. So
You definitely are. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing all your stories. I know I'm looking forward to more. And so I give you all my blessing and gratitude. Thank you so much, Rose. Thank you to everybody else who decided to sign on. Once it finishes doing its little thingamajiggy, I'll post this out elsewhere. I'll go ahead and stop the recording for us.
Bye.
So bye to the recording.
Thank you. It was a pleasure
Thank
to
you,
meet you
everyone.
all.
Thank
Love y'all. Love y'all.
love you
All right.
all. Thank
Night.
you.